Before you let your kids go to that sleepover, party, or hangout, do you know the parents? Welcome to Love Lessons with Team Dean,
Welcome.
where love is intentional and relationships are built to last. How are you doing, my love?
I am doing excellent, baby. I'm doing excellent.
Wonderful. Good to hear.
Yeah.
We have I think, a great uh, subject that we're talking about today. It is, I would say, part two of last week.
Right.
We talked about the importance of making sure that our children are safe.
It's ongoing.
It is. It
It's
is
ongoing.
ongoing. And so today, I think last week we laid the foundation,
Right.
which is wonderful. But today we wanted to talk about what are some of the things that we can do to make sure that we keep all of our children safe,
Right.
how we can be proactive instead of reactive.
Right. Most definitely.
Yeah,
Love, we cannot, as parents, we cannot ignore the things that we see trending on social
absolutely.
medias. We can't
Absolutely.
make light of it because it's real.
It is.
We saw that lately, even this week here, we saw that there was another video that popped up of a young black girl being invited over to her friend's house, 30 white girls who lured her in, and then they proceeded to beat her up,
Yes.
jumping on her. I mean, if you really look at the video, and I will warn you, give you a heads up that it's a trigger warning.
It is.
It is just disgusting what they were doing. And unfortunately, now is the time for us to have that conversation. We have situations where a young lady was also found hanging from a tree
Yeah.
unalive but in Mississippi, right? And the only answers we ever get is, oh, it's suicide, you know.
It's
And
very true.
sometimes one and one just don't add up to two for us. And so
Absolutely.
we can't sit by and just be onlookers and bystanders and just take whatever's being told to us. We have to do whatever we have to do to protect our children.
Oh my God. Whew. That was heavy.
Right.
Um,
And
eh,
my intention is not to make it heavy
no, no,
today.
no.
Right. So,
It's not your
but
intention,
it's
my love,
reality.
but
It's reality.
absolutely, and it is the reality.
Yeah.
And for many of us, it is our reality.
Yeah.
And so, even last week, we were talking about the importance of keeping our children safe.
Yeah.
And so, the example you gave of the young woman whose friends lured her to their house,
Yeah.
and even when you watch the video, one of the girls says, "Well, how will we discard the body?"
Wow.
She said that.
Yeah.
As they proceeded to beat her. And so, with that, we want to be diligent. We want to be mindful. We don't want to, like we were sharing last week, we believe in the power of prayer. And we know that it is only through our prayers and through God keeping us and protecting us where we'll be able to keep our family safe.
Yeah.
But we still need to use wisdom. And what does that look like
Right.
for parents?
Right. I think, love, one of the things that we discussed last week, and I think it helps a lot. It lowers your worrying a little,
I hear you.
to be able to know the parents of whom your children are hanging out with, or
Absolutely.
going to a sleepover with, if you were a person who allows
Allows
that.
that, right?
If you're hanging out at a party or whatever, it helps a lot to know. And when I say know, to really know the parents. And I don't mean just you know them through school events. You
It's
know
true.
them because your kids have certain sports or something with them. I'm talking about, their ideology. You
That's
know
good,
what
my
they
love.
think and what they believe. How do they view you? How do they view people of other colors? How do they see themselves in this world?
That's good, babe.
All right. So because we need to know that our child will be treated just like their own child.
Absolutely. I totally agree, my love. And the importance of that is, like you said, know the parents. What does that look like?
Right.
Like, for instance, our son, our 10-year-old, he is very social, very active, and has a lot of friends, per se. And so when he says, "Oh, I got invited to this party,"
Yeah.
is it someone we know? Do I have his or her mother's number? Have
Right.
we met their parents? Like, I think that we can say that that is too much, but I
Right.
don't think it's enough. And so when you're talking about who your children are with, if they're spending the night over someone's house, make sure you know the parents. And
Yes.
like my husband said, I'm talking about you have spent time with them. They have been to your house, you have been to their house, you know their ideologies, you know where they stand on certain social issues.
Right.
Like, for instance, I don't think I would be comfortable with our son going to his friend's house if if his friend's parents were not white people who are not bound by racism and prejudice.
Right.
They are, they're
They're
open,
advocates.
they are very much
Allies.
advocates. I didn't want to say woke, but I think that would be the best word.
Uh,
And they get fired up more than we do half the time. And
right.
so they are kind people, but they do see the injustice and they do see the difference. And
Yeah.
so we have those
Right.
conversations. We talk about racism and prejudice and how we are affected in this community and others. And so I think that's important as well, especially if your children are part of a friend group that are different nationalities and
Yeah.
cultures.
Yeah.
We cannot be blind and say we don't see race, we
Right.
don't see color.
Right.
That's not true.
Yeah.
Okay, children don't. I believe children are innocent in that way. But we as adults, we know better.
Right.
And we've seen this, and when you're talking about letting your and that's another thing. You just want to be careful because your children, though they are sacred and God entrusted them to us.
Yeah.
That's something that I've had to learn that we say that they're our children, and yes, God gave them to us, but they are ultimately his, and he has entrusted us to
Yeah.
parent them.
Right.
He has entrusted us to instill the things of God in them so
Right.
that they love God and love people. And so the Bible also says that we are to train up a child in the way that he will go, and when he is older he will not depart from it.
Right.
So we want to make sure that as our children are being introduced to other people and other things, that we're making sure that our children are safe.
Right. I agree.
Normalize introducing yourself.
Yeah.
We're advocates for that. We are always like, "Hey, I'm Stefan's mother,
Yeah.
I'm Stefan." Like, we had orientation this week
Right.
and everyone knew us because we make sure that we are present, that they see us.
Yeah.
And so we have to normalize those things.
Babe, our podcast is all about relationships,
Right.
and we're about couples connecting and building relationships, and really building whether marriage or just dating or whatever,
Right.
that it is done in a strong, godly manner.
Absolutely.
But one of the greatest responsibility that I think a couple can ever have
Being parents.
is being parents.
Oh, that's good, my
And
love.
you know that when you touch a child, when
Mhm.
you touch you've touched the heart of the parents.
That's good, baby.
Parents are okay with you as long as you're okay with your children. But when you mess with their children, you hurt them in any type of way, you will see another side
You will.
of the parents. And so I think this is one of the most powerful thing that a couple can actually do together, to
Mhm.
agree on how are we protecting our children, agree on how are we raising them, who are we allowing them to be around. I
That's
think that's
right.
extremely important.
Absolutely.
And some families may say, hey, you have that uncle, don't when an uncle come around, let's move the kids away from them, let's protect the kids.
Right.
Some people may say, I don't, like at school, we have friendship with certain parents,
Mhm.
but then there are some parents that everybody don't gel with sometimes,
Right.
and
Absolutely.
and we're not really feeling them. I don't really
Right.
know you like
Right.
that, right? And so yes, we have to be mindful of all those things as we are parenting and trying to keep our children safe in this environment. Too much is happening. We cannot close our eyes and just pretend like it's not happening. This is real life. This is our reality. And we are not living in fear, but we're just being responsible parents.
That's good.
Yeah.
Absolutely, being responsible parents. And what does that look like? You know,
Yeah.
for some parents, and I get it, life can get hectic with work, and if you have multiple children,
Mm.
and you have a lot going on, and so maybe you feel like you don't have enough time in the day to do your due diligence,
Right.
or it just might be too much, like, hey, that's my kid's friend, they go to school together, they're good people. No.
Right.
Like, what does that look like? And so I think practical ideas are like having family dinners.
Right.
We have actually spent quality time with our sons' friends' parents. We have been to their homes. We have not just birthday parties, we have been to their home. They have been to our home.
Mm.
We have spent time. We have eaten and had conversation, because I remember the first time our oldest son was invited over to the friend's house. I was a nervous wreck.
Mm.
And so, of course, I spoke to you and you were like, I'm okay with that. But we had met the family, and all of that. I was just nervous. And what I loved about his best friend's mother, and I won't say her name, but she we were having a conversation and she went through everything.
Mm.
You know, she said, and they have a pool. And of course our son can swim, but she said, the children, they're never in the pool without adult supervision.
Mm.
We do not own a firearm.
Right.
Like, she just went down a
Okay.
list of stuff that I would have never even thought about.
Right.
And she made us feel safe.
Right.
And then our son came over, he swam, had a good time, and we sat and had conversation.
Yeah.
And so I think that that's important. Invite them over to your home,
Yeah.
so that they can also know you as well.
Yeah.
I think it's important for you to just have that interaction with the parents, not just when they come over, but to really build a relationship.
Yeah.
And I think that's important.
I think some of my most, and I have to say it this way here, unfortunately, but some of my most favorite Caucasian people,
Yeah, I don't know if we're supposed to say Caucasian or
white,
white,
well, whatever
the
way you're
lighter
supposed to say
hue.
it.
Yeah,
The point is, we have great relationships with them,
absolutely.
and I cannot ignore this.
Hmm.
That most of our most powerful conversations came over dinner,
They did.
where
Absolutely.
where they were willing to share
Their hearts.
their upbringing,
Hmm.
their disgust for what they had been taught,
Hmm.
and how they saw
Oh,
life,
that's good.
and to hear them talk about the changes that they have had to make. And that, I think that's how you build relationships, through
Absolutely, baby.
fellowships, through sitting down and
Absolutely.
having conversations. So we had dinner and we had conversations,
I love that.
just being honest about our differences, and how do we bridge the gap? How do we love people beyond what is beyond the culture that is created for us to supposed to comply to and follow and act like this and dislike this one because of political party, or dislike this one
Mm,
because of race,
that's good.
all of this stuff here. How do we break that barrier? And I found that by spending quality time at dinner,
It is. It's
at
true.
at their homes,
Hmm.
and really hearing the truth.
Right.
Who are you really? At your core, who are you? What are your principles?
That's
What are
good.
you what are your ideologies? What are your beliefs?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I told, ooh, that was powerful, my love. And that is very, very true. And I think that in that setting, there is such vulnerability and honesty.
Mm.
And so that is really where relationships are built, like you said. And so what I have learned, babe, just in the short period of time that we have been parents, our son is very outgoing. Like, he is very outgoing. He's very active in his school. And so it seemed like every other day he was like, I got a new friend, I got a
Mm.
new friend, they invited me to a birthday party, they invited me this and that. And so um I've learned that through him, even building those rapports and those friendships, we have foster relationships that go beyond the school. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And so, even though that is your friend, I think it's important, like you keep saying, that we know these people in an intimate way, that we know how they feel and what they think. And I think also, you know, children build friendships. But I think we as parents, we need to build accountability.
Yeah.
And so what does that look like? Um, there's a lot when it comes to parenting and how we want to make sure that our children remain safe, my love.
Yeah.
Because it's not just the people they're around.
Right.
Because people is one thing. Like back in our day, that was the main thing. Like our parents were diligent and overprotective because of someone harming us,
Right.
someone violating us, someone doing something to us. But now we live in a technological world.
Right.
Like everything is tech related. And so now our children are not just being exposed to people,
Yeah.
but they're exposed to this world wide web,
Yep.
and they're exposed to people on the internet,
Yep.
and exposed to texting friends. And what does that look like?
Yeah.
And so technology does not replace parenting.
It doesn't. It
It
doesn't.
does not.
And sometimes we can give our children technology and hoping that we don't have to have those conversations. And yes, they will learn a lot of things from technology if you don't have that conversation. They will
It's
learn
true.
on their own. Um, um, Social media, people have to worry about. TikTok is another favorite. I remember not that long ago, it was Snapchat,
Yeah,
and kids are communicating,
they
whether you
are.
want to acknowledge it or not. They are communicating with each other. They're communicating. If you give them a phone, they're using the phones. You have to check the phone, check the history, and keep up with what's going on, because they are being secretive. They are using apps and hiding it. They're
They
using
are.
apps that you know nothing about,
It's true. Even
right?
games,
Games, through the
like
games, yes,
Minecraft and other
yeah,
games, they actually have a place where you can chat online.
right.
Yeah, and so I think that's important as well.
These kids are way smarter than we are when it comes to technology,
They are, at my
and
love.
so they are taking advantage of it, and we have to be mindful. Even YouTube, as harmless as it may seem, you have to just be mindful. You're protecting your children from all this stuff, and unfortunately, um, you're not
Very
going to be
true.
able to protect them from everything. So
Right.
some things you're just going to have a conversation with. You're just going to have that conversation, and you be the one to give them the heads up, because if you don't, somebody else will, or they will find it or see it somewhere else. And so it'll be best for them to feel like you're a safe place
Mm.
that they can come to have these types of conversation, and to understand a thing, and you can decide whether they're ready for it or not.
Wow. You know what, babe? I'm just as you were talking, I was thinking about growing up. And the one thing that my mom always made sure was that I had a safe place.
Mm,
And what she always told me, which now I laugh, but she always told me that I had a voice and that my opinion mattered.
right.
I'm laughing because then later when I went to live with my grandparents, they were like, "What?
Right.
You
Old
don't say
school.
nothing." That's
Yeah,
right.
old
And
school.
so
They
my
don't do that.
mother, she always told me that I had a voice and that I could ask her anything. I just always had to be respectful. And so that's another thing that we want with our children. We always, like, we have conversations with our older son. We say, "This is a safe space. You can ask us anything." And so that's important too, babe, because when we look at technology, I mean, we talked about Life 360 and how you can use that to keep track of where your children are. Yes, but that doesn't replace trust,
Right.
because your child might be where they say they are, but who are they with?
Right.
And what are they doing?
You're right.
Right. And so in that, I'm learning that even in, like, we gave our son a little bit of leeway. We allow
We can
him,
talk about it.
we allow him, this was sometime last year, we allow him to text a friend of his. We met the parents, they were really great. Um, and so at first I wasn't really like, I'm not really sure.
Mhm.
But we started to let them text each other. And then because we are those parents, we check text messages.
You're right.
You don't have privacy in my home.
Right.
And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying it's over the top, but I think sometimes we say, "Oh, they need privacy." No, you need, first of all, you're 10,
Right.
10 years old. You can have privacy when you go to the
Don't
bathroom.
lock my door either.
We're not locking doors.
Okay.
And so we allow him to text this friend of his. And when I tell you, it went left quickly.
Yeah, quickly.
Quickly.
3, 4 o'clock in the
They were
morning.
texting all hours of the day, and
Oh, out of the night.
that's true. 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning. We like, y'all supposed to be asleep. What is going on here?
Yeah, yeah.
And then,
Sometimes kids are just not mature enough for stuff, and
right, not yet.
you can't give them access. They're not
Absolutely.
responsible yet, and
Right.
that was definitely a test.
It was.
It was definitely a
Well,
test,
it was.
and maturity goes a long
It
way.
does. And so I had to reach out.
Which
Oh,
is
sorry.
sorry. What is
Go ahead,
which
baby.
is the point that I'm making is just because a kid is begging you for something, just because a kid is asking you that they want to have this because their friends have it,
That's right.
you as the parent
Have to determine.
and you as couples have to
That's it.
decide what works for your household. Maybe you do need your child to have a phone for safety purposes because you're working 2 jobs or you're not coming home on time and they get off from school early,
Right.
and they need to get into the house. Maybe you give them a key to your home and they need to get in and you need to check in with them. That's understandable.
Absolutely.
Of course, you're making sure that they're responsible, right?
It's true.
And they're trustworthy with that. Different situations call for different measures. So I understand that, but I'm saying for my 10-year-old, he was not
He
ready,
was not ready.
right? And that went left, like you
It
said.
went left quick. And then we brought it to his attention. We told him, that was unacceptable.
Right,
And then I, as a mother, reached out to the other child's mother,
right,
and I expressed my concern. And I shared that I saw text messages at times of the morning, 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning.
right.
And then I really realized that they were consumed by it. Like, they were texting a lot.
Mm.
And the focus was getting off of school, and it was more on this texting. And so I reached out to the mother. She was very gracious, and she understood, and she had even noticed it. And so we had to cut that off quickly, um and make sure that we drew him back in,
Mhm.
because then he was being secretive. Like,
Right.
we even
Oh,
took a trip.
he secluded himself.
Yeah, we took a trip.
Yeah,
And I realized we went to see some family members, and the whole time he stayed in another room. And
right.
I thought he was just on his iPad playing a game because he loves Minecraft. And lo and behold, he had been texting this person the whole time.
Yeah,
And he was isolating himself, and he was changing. He was
yeah,
being more
yeah.
secretive. And so, even in that, as parents, like I was saying before, we have to be proactive instead of reactive. And we really do have to pay attention to our children, because, babe, they are wise. They
Wow.
are wiser than we know.
Yes.
I believe that. And technology has just given them free access to just so many things. Like,
Yeah.
we are amazed at how smart our 3-year-old is and how brilliant our 10-year-old is. And it really is because they are exposed to this technology.
Right.
And so, as parents, we have to make sure, that when we are asking and talking about friends, who are they? Do we
Right.
know them?
Yeah. Do we know your
That's right.
parents?
How long have you known them? Do we know their
Do
parents?
we have a relationship with them?
Right, right. Have I met them?
Right.
That's the important part.
Yeah.
You know?
I just want to take a moment real quick, babe, to ask those of you watching to just you
Yes.
leave a comment on how you're feeling about this subject. How do we keep our children safe in a time like this? Do we know the people that they're hanging out with? Do we know the parents of the children that they're hanging out with? How do we take measures without being afraid to have that conversation with them and to make sure that wherever they're going, we know and that it's a safe place for them, because our number one goal is to make sure that they return home to us.
Absolutely. Absolutely,
Yeah.
so true. And for those parents who have been parenting much longer than us, we would love your feedback,
Yeah.
and just for your words of encouragement, and even just your words of wisdom. I think that's important too. because it's not easy,
Right.
and I think parents, we need each other.
Right.
We truly do. I think what's important is that we realize that what's one safety rule your parent had that you didn't appreciate as a child, right? So for instance, that you would, I'm sorry, that you would understand now. So for instance, babe, is there a rule growing up that your parents had that you just was like, this is, I don't even understand it, but now as an adult and now as a parent, do you understand it now, like why that was so important to them?
Do you mean a measure that they took to protect me?
Yes, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Okay, so there's like six or seven of us. So that's a lot of children, right?
Yeah, it is.
So no, my parents just simply didn't play.
I got you.
They just simply didn't play. You didn't stay out when the sun went down.
I hear you. I hear you.
You had to be home by then. If you were in the yard, you didn't go where we couldn't hear you,
I
where they
got you.
couldn't hear
I
your
got you.
voice. Um, and even worse, if you're out of sight and they call you, you need to be able to hear their voice.
Oh, that's good, babe. That's good.
You
That's
need to
so
be able to
good.
hear their voice and respond to it. And so that was one of the rules. My parents did not do
That's good.
sleepovers.
Yeah.
Don't ask them to go sleep at nobody's house. They just wasn't going. They weren't going to do it.
No, I love that. I do. I don't think there's anything that I was an only child. So there wasn't really anything that stood out for me except for my mother. My mother was very adamant about there was an uncle that we had in the family. And so uh my mother was just very, she would not let me be around like men per
Yeah.
se.
Okay.
She would always just keep me close.
That's understandable.
Yeah, so I there really wasn't anything that really stood out. No, that's not true.
Mm.
I'll never forget one time um I had left with my cousin and another kid in the neighborhood, and my mother didn't know where I went.
Mm.
That was the first. Now she was very adamant about knowing where I was.
Right.
And I had never done, I was a good kid. I think we went to like the corner store, but I didn't tell her. And I'll never forget when I got home, she lit me up. And that was the first whooping I ever received from my mother. It was the first and the last. But she was more scared than anything
Right.
because she did not know what had happened to me.
Yeah.
And so I think that now as a mother, my main thing is knowing where my son is at all times.
Right.
Like just not overbearing where he doesn't get to enjoy his life, but I like where we live, I see kids out riding their bikes, little kids. It I'm talking about like 4 years old, 5 years old. I see no parent in sight.
None.
It terrifies me.
Yeah.
I mean, playing in the street, playing everywhere. And so I think for me, my main thing of safety is making sure that our son is safe and I know where he is at
Yeah.
all times.
Yeah.
As much as
Once I
possible.
understand, once I know that he understands that there's danger around, because
Right, right, right.
he's extremely diplomatic
He is and sweet.
and
He is.
he's a very kind person,
Yeah.
and he's more aware of his environment,
I understand.
and he's alert about the people that's around him. When I know that he understands why
That
safety is
that there can
important,
be danger,
yeah,
right? I hear you,
yeah.
babe.
Then even across the street, it took me a while to let him do that on his own until I saw that he understood to look both ways. Keep
Right.
looking both ways until you cross the
That's
street,
right.
right? And that's the responsibility of the parents. We want to make sure we know where our children are. We want to make sure they're safe. I don't think that ever changes, and I don't think nobody should fault themselves with that. As I said, the
Not at
environment right
all.
now is so crazy
It is.
that we have to take extra precaution. We have to take those measures to make sure that our children are coming home safely.
I agree.
You don't want to get that news.
Mm, you
You
don't.
don't want to get that news. You don't want to knock on your door that your child didn't return, or the worst case scenario.
I agree, my love.
You don't want to get that.
And I think that maybe growing up, we didn't always understand our parents' boundaries,
Mm.
but now as parents, you understand.
Yeah.
Like the one thing my mother said, no sleepovers. I never slept over anyone's house. A cousin, it was a no. And so, um, for us, we haven't done sleepovers with friends.
Mm,
We're not comfortable with that.
right,
And so to each his own. But I think, babe, what you said, it as parents, we now um have to have wisdom, and even though our children may want to do something, now it really comes down to, is it safe?
right.
And I'll be honest with you, babe, with things that have happened recently, I did not have that much fear per se. Not
Mm,
saying, oh, that couldn't happen. I've always been diligent, but now it's like, I wouldn't put this past anybody.
right.
And so I want to make sure that he is safe.
Wow.
So even if going to a friend's house, that might require, you know, it might look a little different
Yeah,
because I need to be more comfortable.
yeah. I'd definitely like to know some of the rules that our listeners have
Absolutely,
that
absolutely.
they implement into their family that help keep, as a safety measure. Because parents have different ways of
To
doing
parent,
things,
absolutely.
and we figure out what works for us. So I would love to hear from you, in the chat. Leave a comment, letting us know how you're feeling about the subject and what measures you are taking, or you have taken, to make sure your children are safe and that you know where they are always.
I love that, my love.
Yeah,
And I think that that's perfect.
yeah,
uh, we're all different, and the important thing, this was just something that was heavy on our heart, and we just wanted to share, like, what can we do as a community,
yeah.
as a people, as a whole, to keep our children safe.
Yeah, we will get back to the lovey-dovey stuff next week
Absolutely.
or whatever, right?
Absolutely. But I think this is important, my love,
Yeah,
because I'm sure that there are other parents, and that there are other uh who have that same idea.
yeah,
And I think that parenting has always required faith. Oh,
definitely.
that's good.
You have to trust
We
God.
have to trust
You have
God
to
in
trust God,
in
yeah.
times like this. We have to trust
I hate
God.
to say that there's no right or wrong way to parent, but the harsh reality is we're all figuring it out.
We are.
We
We are.
figure
No, we
maybe
really are, my
maybe by the
love.
third child we perfected it, maybe.
In today's world, it not only requires our faith, but intentional preparation. Like I was
Yeah,
saying, that we are to be proactive instead of reactive. What can we do to ensure the safety of our
right.
children? And then we can't remove every risk from our children's lives. So we don't want to parent in fear, right?
I remember because when we were first time parents, and our older son, he was I don't want to use the word shelter, but
He
we
was.
sure was protective of
Oh
him,
my God, that poor
protective
fellow.
of who held him, where he went,
Hmm.
him playing. We put up all the safety reels, all we plug in all the outlets. We did everything possible to make
Yeah,
sure he was safe. He couldn't get into the cabinet.
that's
He
right.
couldn't. We make sure everything. We didn't let him jump off of stuff, and he didn't mess with the blinds and do all that stuff like that. Baby number two.
No limit soldier.
Baby number two, we realized that we can't
can't.
stop a child from being a child,
You
right?
can't. You can't.
And he has more liberty. I actually call him my liberty baby
Yeah.
because he is free.
He really
He
is.
is free. He's the one that goes to bed 4 o'clock in the morning because he just be up walking.
Ah, that's too funny. But listen, protecting our children, it isn't about living in fear. It's not. It's
Right.
about leading with wisdom. It's about staying encouraged.
Yeah.
We encourage one another, and loving them and preparing them for the world that they will have to navigate.
Right.
And with that being said,
I,
oh,
our friend Miriam.
yes,
Yeah. Mary said that communication is an open door policy. Let me put it up. Yeah. Communication is an open door policy,
I
and
love
that
that.
we have the passwords yeah.
I love that. Absolutely.
I
Absolutely.
think we have password for everything in this house.
Everything.
Everybody have the passwords for
That's
the next
right.
person.
But we do. And we totally agree. We totally agree. I love that.
Yeah,
And with that being said, my love,
yeah,
love is a daily decision. So keep learning, keep growing, and keep choosing love. We'll see you next week.
Thank you for joining us today.